closet, also known as the Jim McCarthy Voiceovers World Headquarters Studio. This is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. This is episode 39. It's hard to believe I'm almost at 40 with the JMVO Weekly Primer. The primer is all about making your life better through marinating your mind in good stuff. My name is Jim McCarthy, owner, operator, and chief bottle washer at jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com. I believe that as business owners, entrepreneurs, and overall salespeople, we are bombarded by negativity every day, and it's the last thing we need. If you want to see your life and business change for the better, consume nurturing good stuff. If you marinate your mind in good stuff, podcasts, books, audiobooks, and even people, your life will take a turn for the better. I firmly believe that. Subscribe via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. Pick your poison for iPhone and Android, iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry. All that stuff is right there. You can pick whatever one works for you, and let us know if there's another platform you want us to get on. Just shoot me an email, and I'll look into it. I think we're about to get on Spotify here if I don't hear back from Blueberry sooner, or maybe they did. Maybe they turned me down. I don't know. We will find out. Of course, the show is sponsored by Big Dot Lighting, commercial LED lighting conversion specialists. We convert all sorts of commercial facilities to energy-efficient LED lighting. Of course, you go into Home Depot, you go into Lowe's, the LED technology wave is here. A lot of businesses have yet to get on board. We make it easy for them. We have capital plan options, operational expense options. We call it lamp and maintenance partner, lighting and maintenance partnership. Very big for businesses that just want to make it simple, get the lighting all converted, all in one fell swoop, and all they got to do is pay a low monthly payment that includes their maintenance of the lighting and their electrical system for the next 5 years. Very, very simple. So, on with the show. I have a very, one of the things that I kind of subscribe to that I tell people that wonder about what if and how can I explore these types of options and different things that they want to do. The biggest thing that is lacking that they don't do is first ask the question. And I always subscribe to the notion, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Of all the different interviews that I've seen with my guest today and things that I've read about them, his career and everything that he's built is almost surrounds that notion. He's built a company that is a basic luxury concierge, meaning if you wanted to really impress a date, all right? And you wanted to have the first date dinner cooked by Wolfgang Puck and be serenaded by Andrea Bocelli while you're dining inside the Vatican. This guy will find a way to make it happen for you. I'm going to bring him on. Please welcome to the primer, Mr. Steve Sims, otherwise known as Ugly Sims. Is that where people call you, right? I mean, it's kind of... Yeah, it's...
I don't take it as offensive. I've been called Ugly Sims for many years.
And you're from, you live in LA, and we talked before we started going live. Obviously not from the US, you're from Britain or England, correct?
I am East London. Yep, that's me.
East London. And so you're kind of a gentleman that thinks outside the box. You don't subscribe to the not the tried and true, but the pathway most travel. You find your own way, and this kind of got you to where you are with Bluefish and the book that you wrote and everything. Tell us about the beginnings of that. How did that all start for you?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think outside of the box, I can't even see the freaking box. I was a poor whiskey drinking bricklayer from East London. Funny enough, all of my buddies were, and I just woke up one morning and thought, I don't want to be poor anymore, but I don't know anyone rich. So I tried a load of different jobs to get to make me money. And that didn't work. And then I found myself applying for a job in Hong Kong, which was ridiculous because I was living in England and I was, to say underqualified is an understatement. But I talked my way into the job and ended up getting a job in Hong Kong. I landed on the Saturday, went out drinking with them on a Saturday, drinking with them on a Sunday, orientation on the Monday, and I was fired on the Tuesday. So
fired quick.
Yeah. It didn't take too long. I think they would have fired me quicker if they weren't all scared of me. I've always been a big lump of a lad, 240 pound of ugly, simple as that. And I ended up doing what God designed me to do. I was working on the door of these dodgy nightclubs in Wan Chai, and I suddenly started seeing affluent people coming into the clubs because there was a lot of expatriates in Hong Kong at the time. And I thought, hang on a minute, here's my chance to speak to rich people. So I started building up a value. I would turn people away and say, this isn't the place for you tonight. It's not happening in there. Go down the road, speak to Bobby, tell him Sim sent you. That's the place you'll get. It'll get you in. I'll look after you. And I became the person that knew where the best clubs were. Then I started getting them into parties. Then I started throwing my own parties and then getting them into Hollywood award shows or Monaco Grand Prix. It just blossomed. But the sole focus from birth of this was to be able to be of value to affluent people that gave me an excuse to ask them how they became affluent. That was my whole like a lot of people start podcasts quite simply as an excuse to be able to talk to people more interested than them. I know that's why I'm doing it. And that's the reason I set up my job. I wanted an excuse to be able to kind of play in someone else's sandpit and go, yeah, I'll look after that. Well, we got 5 minutes. How long have you been doing this? What got you going? And just ask a few questions along. And that was why I did it and how I got into it.
And then I came across you by Brad Lee, our mutual friend out in Vegas.
Sexy beast that he is.
He really is, man. He's got the voice, man. He gets up on that mic and he's dropping bombs. So he's big. I mean, he'll deny it, but he's certainly getting into influencer territory on the socials. But he connected you and I. You needed a podcast intro for your new podcast that's debuting here soon. And man, I listened to. I did a lot of research on you because that's what I do. I want to research who I'm. What kind of stylized podcast intro you need, what would sound right, kind of fit it towards your personality. And then, of course, by proxy, I found out a lot about him. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's done a lot of stuff. And, of course, I listened to your interviews on Dropping Bombs with Brad Lee, another great podcast that you should go out and subscribe and listen to now. One of the top 20 business podcasts. And I think he's up to 7 billion listeners from what he's telling everybody. So there are 7 billion subscribers, something like almost the entire population of the earth. That's how I became familiar with you. Now, some of the stories I set it up as, setting those types of things are what you organize for people. Like, what were some of the more outlandish requests you've gotten? Like maybe the first one that you were like, wow, there's something here.
Well, yeah, it was, as I say, it started from getting people in the nightclubs and I wanted to be of value. And then the requests just got bigger and bigger. I ended up, a bunch of clients, a bunch of people that I knew, they weren't even clients at the time, just a bunch of people in my circle watched the movie Titanic and wondered if it was possible to go and see the Titanic. So I found out that they were actually still doing explorations down there. So I actually paid to have these people piggyback the expedition and go down and see the Titanic. I've closed museums down, set up dinner parties for 6 people at the feet of the Academia in Florence, at the feet of David, in the Academia. And then I had Andrea Bocelli come in and serenade them. I've done guitar lessons with ZZ Top, singing lessons with the rock band Journey, drum lessons with Guns N' Roses, driven Formula One cars around racetracks. Yeah, it just is a case of whatever you could dream, I'm going to take it further. And it just got bigger and bigger and more outlandish. And whatever you could possibly afford, I was going to put together. And I just became the man that could. And it was quite exciting. I
was going to say, whatever, there's obviously a price tag for all this.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm throwing this event. It's $500. I'll do your deal. It's $400. If he pays $400, he's turning up. If you say to him, hey, I'm going to give it to you for free, bastard won't show. They just go, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. They don't value it. And I realized years ago, I value me more than you ever will. So out of respect for me, if you want an event in February here in Los Angeles, and it's $2,000 a person, and I turn around to my buddies and I'm like, hey, I'm doing the event $2,000. They're like, hey, we're mates. And I'm like, yeah. And someone said to me, can you give us a 50% discount? And I said, absolutely. And when you're there, I'm only going to tell you 50% of the truth. And they were like, oh, I said, look, if you want it, I'll give it to you, but it's going to cost you $2,000. You know, I'm helping you here by committing. It's going to be a benefit. I said to him, if at the end of it, you haven't progressed, you haven't found a benefit, you haven't made more money out of the stuff that we're doing, hey, I'll give you your money back within the week. You know, is that fair? And they all joined. But I'm a great believer, if they don't pay attention.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they got skin in the game at that point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You got to get something out of some sort of consideration. Well, I mean, so you move forward, you got into entrepreneurship, you're an author, published author. How is this kind of, you know, when did you realize that you could make a business out of this and it really started to take off? I mean, you almost have a reality TV show that you could possibly do with this, right?
I don't think anyone would believe it. If I hadn't lived it, I don't think I'd believe it. It was weird. For a start, just a slight correction. I don't think anyone ever gets into being an entrepreneur. I think it's one of those things that's in your twisted DNA from birth. I remember as a kid in London, I didn't fit. I remember, like most youngsters that are entrepreneurs, I'm bouncing off the walls, trying to find out what I can do, getting into trouble, not paying attention. The classic, he needs medication because he's got ADD, you know, one of those things. And it's not until you lock and load and find your focus that you are a scatterbrain. I remember when I had made the conscious decision, I don't want to be where I don't fit. I was doing jobs for like half a day and then going, don't like this. And coming home, my mum's like, will you please keep a fucking job? And I'd be like, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. So there was a lot of arguments when I was young, but I didn't want to waste my time. And so there was a lot of bouncing around. And then when I found that I was working on the door, again, as I mentioned, the reason for connecting was because I wanted the answers. I wanted to speak to people that were successful. So if I saw someone in a smart suit and a $20,000 watch, I want to talk to that dude or that girl and find out, how come you're wearing a $20,000 watch and I haven't even got a watch? I wanted that. The funny thing was, I spent so much single focus on building up a Rolodex of affluent people. My idea was by the time I had a solid Rolodex, I would go back through that Rolodex and ask for a job. The only time in my life I never asked for anything was the example I've just given you. For some reason, I just got to doing and got to being of value so much, I never did ask them. And then without realizing it, I was actually interviewing, this will make you pee yourself. I was actually applying for jobs. I was applying for salesperson at a high-end car garage. I was applying for a banker. I was applying for just stuff that made no sense. And my wife one day turned around to me and she said, what are you doing? Because again, morning, shaving, taking out my earrings, putting on a suit. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go and see a couple of friends and, I'm going to talk to them about how their work is and stuff like that. She said, for one, you've never asked these people for a job. If you did, you'd probably get one, but you've never asked. Secondly, you've been doing this for bloody months, yet we've never missed a mortgage payment. We're living well. We got a new car downstairs. Don't you realize you've got a job? And it was her that she actually did that. And I remember, I can tell you quite honestly, I was in Geneva. I was in the bathroom. I was doing my tie and I stopped and I'm like, I do. Yeah, and so took the tie off, took the suit off, and that was the last time I ever wore it. I never took my earrings out ever since then. But yeah, that was it. I realized then after 7 years of doing what I was doing that I actually had a career. Now, like all entrepreneurs, then I fucked it up. Because then, like all entrepreneurs, we go, well, this works. What can I do to completely smash it? And I went, I better think of a really smart name for the company, and I better get one of these websitey things. And I better start kind of like sounding more professional, because all of my events, I was rolling up on a motorbike in a black T-shirt, The only time I was wearing suits and taking my earrings out was during the day when I was trying to impress people. And they were looking at me, and I've spoken to them since, and they were like, yeah, we always wondered why we went out with you last night. We were great fun. And then during the day, you were like a stiff. And it was because it wasn't me. I was trying to be someone I wasn't. And if I let it go, then it was a lot more easy. And as I always say, it takes zero effort to be me. And I'm really good at being me. So that's what I ended up focusing on. And I thought, I wonder if anyone else will like it. As I say, I went through the screw up period of, oh shit, I better get a really good quality kind of infusion soft, auto responder, sales funnel, CRM. And then I thought to myself, well, hang on, before I get all of that, surely I need a client. And that's when I started focusing on that end. And that's where the ugly came from. I realized that you need to get going, then get good. Because if you're chasing perfection, perfection is a blue unicorn with 3 testicles. It doesn't exist.
You're always going to be pursuing it.
You're going to chase it forever, and you're going to look like a dog chasing his tail. You'll never get to perfect. So why even try? Just get going and then get good.
A throwback to, I want to say it was episode 34 or 35. I had Bill Phillips on, and his big thing is fitness and body for life. And his saying is progress, not perfection.
Yes,
Great
yes,
saying.
exactly.
Great
exactly, yeah.
My business partner, he says, you don't need to get it right. You just got to get it started. And it's like, there's a lot of truth to it. Eventually, you got to get it somewhat right. You got to perfect a couple of different nuances here, do some nips and tucks and things of that nature. But otherwise, yeah, if you have an idea, and it's funny, you kind of got in your own way by overthinking it and starting to think, well, I got to do all this stuff. In the car business, I used to be in the car business as well. They have, there's a phenomenon that happens where your first couple of months can be your best months, because all you do is get your lips loaded by the desk and they tell you exactly what to say, and you're selling cars. And then all of a sudden you start knowing what you're doing, and then your sales drop off.
That's right.
It happens all the time.
The trouble is, because people actually, they cover themselves, they shield themselves. And here's the daft thing. And I actually remember this. There was a really, I don't want to get dark in this show, but there was a point in my concierge business, and I was throwing a yacht party in Monaco. And on this 3-story yacht, I never knew yachts could have different stories at the time, but on this 3-level yacht, I had some of the most powerful people in the world on my yacht at my party. And here's a dumbass thing that I did. I really wanted to impress these people. Bearing in mind, they'd already paid to be on my bloody yacht, and it wasn't my yacht. I rented it for a couple of nights. I got a Ferrari. Now, bearing in mind, I ride motorcycles. I'm 2-wheel forever. I live and probably die on 2 wheels. But I bought a Ferrari, and I drove down to this yacht in a Ferrari, in a suit, went in, partied, and then came out. And here's where it goes bad. Next to me was a bigger yacht. It was empty, but it was a bigger yacht. I reversed my Ferrari up, sat outside the Ferrari, leaning up against it like some amateur Don Johnson from Miami Vice, and my wife took a picture of me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. And then I went home. And it was back in the late 90s. So when you got the kind of like the roll of film, you put it in an envelope, and somewhere within the next century, you get your pictures back. And I got these pictures back, and I'm flicking through it, and I found the picture of this phony. I found the picture of this guy that was searching so much for something brilliant. Not only was he trying to impress who, but he was completely ignoring about 100 of the richest people in the planet on his 3-story yacht that had paid about 10 grand to be at the party. And he was more concerned about leaning up against the car, which was now on finance. I got rid of the car 3 days after that. And it was just ridiculous. It was a hell of a lesson. But as entrepreneurs, we do enter into this horrible calculation of, well, I need to look a certain way to impress you. No one that's ever done anything has ever given a rat's ass of what you think about it while they're doing it. You think Elon Musk gives a shit what you think? Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, any of these people, how they're supposed to look, they care about what they're supposed to do. And that will do the talking for them.
Well, yeah, it's I understand what you're saying. I mean, I for a while there, I sold Mercedes-Benz and I started dressing the part. And I not that it wasn't me, but I mean, I put the sport coat on. I call it Nashville casual. I'll wear some Ugg boots. I think they're Uggs. Yeah, they look like black work boots with like velvet around them. My regular jeans, a regular polo shirt. I'll put on a sport jacket, and it looks professional. I call it Nashville casual. But wearing a suit and all that stuff no thanks.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's a certain, let's say, dress code that you have to adhere. Like I'm in black t-shirt and jeans all the time when I'm here in LA. Yeah, it's my thing. But when I go to my clients in like Prague or Poland or Italy, then I will dress up a bit more and I'll have a jacket on or maybe jeans and a jacket, and I'll do the Nashville casual. So, and I fully respect that. Different environments, like when I'm in Japan, oh hell, you can't go into anywhere without a collar. They won't take you seriously.
Really?
So different cultures do require different styles, and that I'm happy to adhere to. But I'm so comfortable in me now that I'm wearing the clothes and not the clothes wearing me. The situation with the Ferrari outside the yacht was that these weren't accessories. These were my foundations that I was leaning on, and they were being paid for by the month. So I'm a great believer in be you, and everything else will fit in just perfect.
So it's kind of almost like and this is a podcast I heard this morning. I would imagine you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, right?
I've heard of him.
He did a podcast called, and he called it "Fake It Till You Make It," and he was talking about all the Instagram entrepreneurs who do exactly what you did. You know, they rent the Lambo for the day. Yep. They've got the models. They're going to go to their uncle's house who happens to have a mansion and start taking pictures for Instagram and saying, hey, you could be like me. And I've got the $6,000 course, go to the ClickFunnels and order it here. Yep. And he talks about that all the time. He says, he's like, I cannot wait for the economy to melt down so everybody gets shaken off and punched in the face.
Oh, and we need that. We need that. I'm totally with Gary there. We need these plastic princesses to bugger off their pedestals. And
plastic princesses.
It's just ridiculous. You get this guy. Let's pick on Gary V. Okay, yeah. Let's freaking annihilate him for a second. All right. The guy is a loudmouth New Yorker that struts out on stage with his fuck this, fuck that, with his beanie on, and he blasts the audience. All right.
Yeah.
Now, the guy runs one of the largest media companies in America. Mm-hmm. He knows his shit.
He does.
Okay. Grant Cardone is another guy. Can I look at my Gulfstream? I got Cardone on the wing. I'm flash. I'm fancy. I'm rich. Because he owns one of the largest real estate groups in the planet. Mm-hmm. Tay Lopez as well. Tay Lopez made a fortune out of being the most hated man on the internet. Look at my Lamborghini. I read books. Great. Good for you. But he's also one of the sharpest dudes that knows how to get attention. Okay. Yeah. All of these people are quite openly brilliant. All right. Look past and see what they're doing. They're brilliant. Again, you to pay attention. Well, what they do is they convince the little girlies out there, and I'm on about the guys, guys and girls, the little, softies and the snowflakes to come forward and do exactly what you're doing. And they forget that those guys have substance behind them. They actually have a message. I don't want to hear from someone that's just read a bunch of books and read a Gary V course. I want someone that's going to walk up to me and going, hey, I launched this company because I fell on my ass. I was bankrupt. I got shagged up the ass. And then I launched this and I sold it for $10 million. I don't trust anybody unless they've got some scars. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And it's you've hit a nail on the head. We talk about there's a lot of, gurus, coaches, mentors out there that are doing it. that have, and Matt Monero, and he's another guy that you should really look into. You have him on your podcast. I don't know if you're having guests on your podcast, but I'll tell you right now, he would be a great one for you. I had him on episode. Right. It's in the 20s, but great guy. He's out of Dallas. Intro. I will, absolutely. He and I talked exactly about that, is living through economic corrections. And I tell the story all the time. My father was an entrepreneur. He owned his own business. It was part of my formative years and my youth and my teen years and stuff. And he, the 1991 recession, I don't know if it happened in England, but at least here, it was devastating for us. And at, 1991, I was 16, 15 years old. And it was just, I remember going through that after living through the roaring 80s. And man, it was an eye opener. Like, I don't want to do that ever again, And then the internet bubble started to ramp up. 1999 happened, a little bit of an adjustment. That we kind of got through that into 2000. 2001 was September 11th happened. We had an adjustment there, but then we had the roaring millennium up until 08. So, I mean, I've lived through a couple of economic recessions, but not as a full-time entrepreneur. But I do remember what my dad went through. So it's not like I'm not going to speak with authority on that. And that's one thing I promise my listeners all the time and people I talk to. You will not catch me speaking on stuff I know nothing about. And it's, I know about voiceover, I know about marketing, I know about radio because it's a majority of my background. But I am not going to speak about stuff that I'm not going to fake it till I make it. I can't. No, but so many people are. So many people are going to listen to something you say and go, "Oh, I'll sell a course on that," and they're going to run out of ClickFunnels and say, "Hey, do you want to be this? Do you want one of these? Or do you want one of these girls? Buy my course now, and you can." And it's all baloney. It'll all fall out. Fall out. I think there'll be a massive correction. Hello, have I got you back? I'm here. Do you see me?
Yeah, I can see you now. You died for a second. I went on stage a little while ago, and this guy was about to go on stage, and I said to him, "So, what's your talk on?" And he told me what his talk was on, and I said, "Oh, great, So how long were you in that?" He said, "Oh no, I've just studied it." And I said, "What do you mean you studied it?" And straight, I disliked the guy. So as soon as I dislike someone, I'm in for the kill. And I'm like, "What do you mean you studied it?" And he's like, "Well, I've been looking into this." I said, "So you read a lot of books then?" He's like, I've read like good amount of books on this exact subject. Brilliant. So you're an expert because you've read a lot of books. And you haven't done it. Have you ever actually done it? He was like, no, but I've done. And it was just annoying that he was actually able to get up on stage. And the funny thing was that I liked, which is something that you can appreciate about the other three examples that we gave earlier. Those people don't do Q&As. Those people get up on stage, and they give a speech. It's well rehearsed, it's well presented. Click to slide. Thank you, good night, I'm out. And that's what they do. They won't do a Q&A because they don't want to be questioned on it. And I find that ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's very telling. It's very telling.
We're going to see a big correction. You're right. We are going to see a massive correction, not only on the guru market, but on the influencer market and on the speaker market. We're going to see a correction on all three of those, and I want to see it. Hey, if I get beaten up in collateral damage and I get thrown by the wayside, who cares? I want the world to be a better place, whether I'm in it or not. It needs a reset.
Well, I mean, I think authenticity is going to win the day at the end, and you're nothing but authentic. I mean, it's you're, if anything, you're massively authentic, and you shoot from the hip, and that's a great thing. I mean, it's a big part of what you've always done. You're acknowledging here on the show that you've already tried being not yourself. Being you works. And the funny thing is, with the three guys you brought up, Gary, Grant. I met Grant in person. Actually, we did another podcast that I run or produce. We flew down to Miami. The funny thing about him is that I knew of him from the car business. In 2013, I started selling Honda, and the general manager said, "Hey, Cardone, just watch his stuff." And there wasn't that much stuff on YouTube or anything with him. It was amazing. I mean, it was very, very sparingly. Any of the content that he had was very tough to find. So when I did start finding some of his stuff was maybe around 2015, 2016. And that's when I think he really started hockey sticking anyway. But anyway, I had formulated a preconceived notion about him because I've met a lot of people, similar to yourself in radio when I was in Vegas. I've met a lot of people. So the celebrity angle wasn't really intimidating for me. So going down there, I had my preconceived notions. We were in his den, his lion's den in his office. We set everything up, get ready for the interview. Everybody was amazingly accommodating from the start. I mean, welcomed us, brought us into their 9 o'clock meeting, cheer up meeting. We got to see, it was funny. They wanted us all to tell us a little about ourselves and everything. My wife froze. She was like, in sheer terror because she doesn't like speaking in front of people. And it was awesome. He comes in very cordial, looks you right in the eye. I mean, it was just like, didn't miss a beat. Did the interview. My wife was actually running sound off of this thing, listening to it. And towards the end of the interview, he got a little blue. He made a reference to a blowjob, and we all laughed. It was hilarious. My wife laughed, but immediately as soon as we're done, he beelines over to my wife. And he says, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that in front of you. I have no idea where, that I don't typically do that, but it just kind of came out." And my wife's like, "Dude, you're good. No, it's all, trust. I grew up with 3 brothers. I get it. It's okay." But I mean, that to me said a lot. And my preconceived notions of who he was completely got shattered.
So you thought he was a dick prior to that then?
I thought, kind of a bloviator.
Of course he was. Yeah, no, exact same thing. He's this larger than life character that great, and you love him, hate him, but you can't ignore him. And I spoke with him at the Pentagon, which was one of my, who the hell can bloody say that? Where they actually had about 8 speakers, and I spoke on stage, him, Greg Reed, Grant Cardone, Charlie Hone. There was a bunch of us, and it was really, really cool to see him in action. I was the exact same thing. I was like, Grant Cardone, and this was 4 years back or something like that, and I was like, he's loud, he's obnoxious, stuff like that. He's good at what he does, but he is one of the sharpest, courteous. I didn't get to spend enough time with him, but I spent long enough with him to be able to go, I was wrong. And now I just have I watch him. I still get pissed off. I still watch his videos where that guy would selfie. He would do a video sitting on the toilet in the morning, and he wouldn't care about it. He's worse than the bloody Kardashians. But he's a smart guy. Again, love him, hate him. Yeah, can't ignore him.
Nope. And he's got what I call the Howard Stern effect, Yeah. When Howard was coming up.
He may never talk to me again, actually. no, I've said good things. I think I've pulled myself back.
He knows that people talk about it. He's happy we're talking about him. I mean, that's the whole name of the game. Say my name.
Yes. Yeah. Who cares? What was it? Someone says, I don't care what you call me. Just, get my name right on a check. And that's what matters.
The more they say my name, the higher I get paid.
Bingo. And he's doing all right.
Oh yeah. But I mean, amazing experience that we had down there. Very, very fulfilling and very eye-opening. Vaynerchuk, I have yet to meet. I'm actually hammering his email currently, trying to get him on the show. He's a tough one to nail down. I know Brad would love to have him on his show, and I tried to make that happen for him. The guy I just interviewed the other night, Ryback, he's actually going to have Gary come to his house, I guess, out in Vegas, because Gary's a huge wrestling fan. So it's interesting with at least the dichotomy of the personalities we're talking about. Grant and Gary, I would say they're two of the biggest business influencers out there right now that are doing what they do, but they're so diametrically opposed in their beliefs, in their postures on things. And it's always been fascinating to me because in radio, and I don't want, if Grant watches this, I don't want him to take this the wrong way, but in radio, when you're the top radio station, you don't acknowledge any of the ones that are below you. You're on the top. The ones that are below you are the ones throwing the flaming darts at you from where they are to try and dethrone you from your where you are. I find that, and he actually brought that up in the interview when we talked to him. He says, Gary wants people to be poor. He will convince you that it's okay to be poor, and make you okay with that. Gary doesn't even really acknowledge him. He acknowledges nuances of his personality and his persona, and as well as other influencers. And it's very interesting to see that dichotomy, because Gary's got an influence or an audience that's 5 to 6 times larger, you know what I mean, than his following, and it's all seemingly authentic. So it's just kind of weird to see the two dichotomy. I've always had that kind of thought, and I'd always love to moderate a conversation between the two. Have you ever seen the one that they did together when he was on?
No, I was actually just trying to work out, have I actually ever seen them together? I've met them all, and they're all incredibly sharp, great intellects. Usually the people that play the dumbest people are the smartest people. And, you know, Tay does it well. Gary V does it well. But I don't think I've ever seen those two together, but they have blossomed into, and you're right, you say the hockey stick, you know, Gary V, 3 or 4 years ago, we were emailing about grabbing coffee and stuff. I haven't spoken to him since, because he's also hockey sticked and he's up there. So, yeah, you got these people that have got on there and they've gone, okay, it makes sense for me to, you know, wear my beanie all the time because, you know, millennials will love me. There's all these different ways that they are now doing it and sitting in the place. You know, Grant Cardone, always looking sharp, you know, always showing his jet and stuff like that, always in his penthouse. You know, great that you can see the demographics they're going for. And I've never cared for the, hey, I've got 10,000 people, I've 10 million people that follow me. I don't share how many people follow me. I care how many people actually take action or pay me from it or get involved with me. I'm all about the engagement, not the followers. I'm not looking for any passengers here.
Right. You're all about depth, not width.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. There's too many jokes there. We'll leave those alone. But I want to. I'm all about the engagement. I've often said when I've been jumping up on stage, like social platforms, you want to throw off your latest phallic symbol of how many followers you got. Try playing your bar tab with your Facebook likes. Then I'll be impressed.
Very true. Very true. Bluefishing. How did that come about?
So I got asked to do a book. So back up a bit. Prior to 2017, I was a massive deal to about 200 people in the world, and that included my mum and dad. I worked with the richest, and I still do, the richest and most powerful people in the planet that you don't know. They own things like countries and banks and empires. And I'd always done a lot of speeches about the state of the luxury business, how to communicate, how to brand, how to market. And I got approached to do a book as a tell-all on the people that spend money. And I just knew that I'd be dead by cocktail hour. So we knew we couldn't do it. So I went, I can't do it. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing more entrepreneurial stages about, hey, your business has to deliver wow. Because if it's transactional, Amazon's waiting to put you out of business. So I started doing a lot more entrepreneurial speeches. And then they came back to me and they went, all right, back to the book thing. We don't want you to tell us what you do. We want you to tell us how you do it. So this gave me the chance to actually write a book, to vent my feelings, get people out of their own way, get people to start doing rather than overthinking that we touched on earlier. And I really thought to myself, it ain't going to go well. But, you know, I'm getting paid to do the book. I'm therefore able to write a book I want to write. And we wrote Bluefishing, the Art of Making Things Happen. And they sent me, when it sent me $2,500. And they said, all right, there's a Barnes & Noble near you. Go and get a table, get some champagne, book a time, and sign books. And I thought, there's no way in the world I'm going to sit behind a table in Barnes & Noble waiting for people to come over and go, hello, young man, what's all this about? Plus, if I knew the freaking hell was going to approach me. So I actually got hold of a whiskey bar that I frequent too often in Hollywood, invited a bunch of friends, stuck the $2,500 behind the bar, and I went, we're going to drink it up. And just for $2,500. And from there, it started kind of like get around because my friends, you know, I have some decent friends that also have their followings. The first month, I think I sold 500 copies.
Right.
And I remember phoning up Simon Schuster, which is one of the largest publishing houses in America and the world. And I went, is that good? And they went, not really. And I went, okay. And I thought, crap. And I remember speaking to a couple of other friends that are successful authors, wound up to find out if 500 books was good in the first month. And it wasn't quite a whole month. It was like 3 weeks. So I thought that gave me a bit of leeway. Second month, I think we sold like 1,000. The third month was like 14,000. So it hockey sticked from there. And I honestly thought, I think it's going to rub people up the wrong way, because it's a very basic activational book. That's not there to tell you how brilliant I am. It's there to tell you you're stopping what's making you brilliant. And if a bricklayer from London can be doing this with Elon Musk and the Pope, you're already a shit out of excuses. So I didn't know how well it would go, but then I started getting picked up on stages. I started doing my speakeasy courses. I released an online course called Bluefish Steve. It just took off. And I went from an Instagram following of, I think it was 16. Okay. So you can put an egg on Instagram and it gets more followers than that. But I had 16 followers or something like that. And I remember being in Simon Schuster, and I just got an article written on me by Forbes, and it was an 8-page article. Okay. It had me with Common, and it had me with Andrea Bocelli and Richard Branson. It had all these, Elton John. It was a real beautiful piece. In fact, I use it on my signatures because it's very sexy. And it was an 8-page article on me with all these people. And there was this girl in Simon Schuster, and she said, we've got to focus on your credibility. And I went, well, I just actually had 8 pages in Forbes written on me. And she went, yeah, no one reads Forbes. And I was like, damn. And she turned around, and she's like, how's your Instagram? And that was when we tried to find it, found it, and there was 16 people. And she went, yeah, you need to work on that. And I think we're at 42,000 or 40,000 or something like that now. But it's been an interesting year, and a few more people than the people before 2017. There's a few more people that know who I am now. And it's quite interesting and quite surprising to see where this journey's going.
Absolutely. So Elon Musk, how did that come about? I mean, it's just a matter of asking the right questions to the right people, I'd imagine. Getting in contact with everybody.
Bingo. End of show. If you want to get the right answer, you've got to ask the right question or the right person. And the opposite being said, that if you don't get the answer you want, you're asking the wrong question or the wrong person. So I had a group of people. I was working with Peter Diamandis, which is the guy that founded the X Prize. And we had literally some of the richest people in the world. We had this room, and I think there were 25 guests, and I think 10 of them were in the top 50 richest families in the world. Okay. Can't mention names, but security, my God, there was security
off the chain.
On top of security, on top of Elon's security, on top of NASA's security. It was just, we had, actually, he'll be able to quantify it for you. About 25 people, about 5 staff, okay? And we had 4 coaches that when we went from one place to another because of all the security that were on each coach, okay?
Wow.
All of us could have fit on half a coach. 4 coaches. So that give you an idea of how bad it was. We had to get security clearance for the other security guards, so the other security people knew who we were. So it was just dumb. But we did an event, and we took them into SpaceX down in Hawthorne, and Elon was there and gave us the rundown, and then started talking through with us, and they all got to meet him. And so it was just really cool experience to be able to spend time with him, hear about how he operates and what he gets up to, and basically how he sees things.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, it's funny because I had an instance where I asked, and this is where I started really asking for bigger and bigger people to be on the podcast. For me, I started out just making it, hey, I'm going to talk with my buddies about the normal stuff we talk about. And if it's interesting to people, great. If not, it's been fun. One day, I don't know if you ever heard of BNI, Business Networking International.
Yeah.
The founder of BNI, his name is Ivan Meisner. And, he, out of necessity, created BNI because he needed to promote it. I think I can't remember the story, but he needed to promote his consulting business. So
right.
Anyway, 35 years later, here we are. He's a pretty big influencer based out of Texas. BNI is now in 85 some odd countries and 350,000 members or something like that. And I just happened to be sitting in my meeting because I'm a part of it. And I hit him up. I'm like, yeah, maybe he would actually do it. I hit him up on LinkedIn, and I didn't write this long email like, hi, my name is Jim McCarthy, and I'm from JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com. I'm a part of your, I didn't do anything. I said, hey, my name is Jim. I'm in your Franklin chapter of BNI here in, or not Franklin, it was Williamson County chapter of BNI here in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. I'd love to have you on my podcast. I have a podcast. That was it pretty much. And he comes back probably within 10 minutes, says, color me cooperative. Let's book it. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I like that. That's a nice way, isn't it?
So I said,
that is cool.
Yeah.
Color me cooperative.
And he comes back. We did the show. And everybody who's like, in the regional BNI executive level positions are going, how did you do that? I asked.
You are. I'll give you a funny little story then on that exact theme tune. And the only reason I'm giving it is because we want people listening to benefit from it.
Sure.
I had a client, and I already spoke about it a bit earlier, so I'm repeating the same thing, but giving more in depth. I had a client that wanted to go and have an exclusive restaurant in Florence, and it was a Sunday. I was in Italy at the time, and he wanted to do it on the Wednesday. So I had 2 days to get him an exclusive restaurant in Florence. Now, I could have done that, but it was dull. It didn't excite me. It didn't arouse me. So I wanted to see how far I could take that element of exclusivity. I ended up getting the Academia Museum to close down, allow us to have a table of 6 at the feet of Michelangelo's David, and then halfway through them eating, have Andrea Bocelli come in and serenade him. Okay? Now that's incredible, brilliant. To this day, still cannot believe I pulled it off in 48 hours. Okay? Wow. Now here's something deep and dark. In the people that I was communicating with to get this done, you can always sense there's a few on the outskirts, don't quite have the power to tell you to go bugger off, that don't want you involved. They either think it's sacrilege. Oh, look at this guy abusing what we have. He's got money, but he doesn't understand the culture. Those kind of people. Yeah. Fair enough. So you don't talk to them. Okay. So come the night, I had the event going on. The table had been set up. Andrea's in a corner, warbling away, trying to get his reverb and trying to get his larynx all warmed up and everything. And one of the curators of the Academia, it's about 15, 20 feet away from me, okay? And I'm looking at David, and I just thought to myself, this guy gave me the slant eye all the time. I could see that he was not on my side, but I had the connections of having people speak peer-to-peer that told him to make it happen, okay? I could sense that he wasn't my greatest fan. So I looked over to him and, made a little sound and just invited him to come over to me. So he walks over and I said, take a look at this table. Is that beautiful? Now, I said to you before that if you get the wrong question or the wrong person, the wrong answer, it's because, you're asking the wrong question kind of thing. I never ask a question that you can answer with a yes or no unless I'm open with the liability. Okay? So I'm not going to say, I want this on Wednesday night. Can we do it? Because the 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be no, because that's the shortest answer in the planet. So I always say things like, what are the steps necessary for this to happen? How can we do this to make the greatest adventure ever? So I position it differently on my ask. This guy next to me, if he turned around and said, no, it's a shitty table, I don't care. I'm already in here, mate. Tough luck. I know, I'm here. But being a child, I wanted to kind of stick it to him because I could sense he didn't like me. And I'm like, nice table. And he was like, it is beautiful. I said, at the feet of Michelangelo's David, is there a better view for a table for 6 people? He's like, no, everyone. not forget drug. Incredible, is it? So I'm rubbing this guy up, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm having a bit of fun here, but my ego is about to blow the walls off of this academia because it's clear that I've been able to get what I wanted, and he couldn't get in the way. And I thought to myself, all right, here I'm going to go for the final tug. So I looked at him and I went, so how come I was able to do this then? And this was where I was expecting something like, well, you have some very powerful friends, Mr. Sims, or, no one's as smooth as you are. Or so he turned around at me straight in the eyes. He turned around and said, no one's ever asked. And I thought, you bastard. It just floored me. And I'm like, no. And that was it. He absolutely killed me. He could see that I was gutted. He knew I was giving him jabs, and he gave the knockout punch. Now, we went and had a few drinks afterwards, but it suddenly got me realizing that nobody asks. And as you say, the answer's no whenever you don't ask. The fact that I'm the Irish kid that goes, why not? Why not? I want this. I want that. Why not? Why can't I have it? Give me. I want that. I want to beat it. Give me. Sooner or later, they go, for Christ's sake, give him what he wants. But when you don't ask, you naturally lose.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like sales. You're taught to not, whereas kids were taught to not speak to strangers and things like that. My son and my kids are born with that natural instinct. And
oh, yeah.
I don't want to kill that in them, but at the same time, it's like, stop asking. Okay, we're done.
You want them yeah.
I don't want you to stop being persistent because that's very important. But right now, you're not getting what you want, so you might as well stop. Then you'll come back an hour later.
Be persistent to other people.
Yeah,
or not to me.
Take a different angle. Sell it to me. All right, really make me want to do this for you. And I make them get creative because I'm a big proponent of teaching sales fundamentals to my kids because I think it's
absolutely
it has to be done. It's kind of funny because as I went from Honda to Mercedes-Benz for several years, and as a salesperson, getting past those first 5, 10, 15 minutes with a customer because their wall is up. And also, I guess, having a creative background like I always did, always helped with this. I was always kind of a ham, being a voiceover artist and on the radio for several years. I guess it helped with my approach when I did this. I would get to the point where I could see the wall up. They were just not, they were there to look at something, but they did not like me because of what I was. And I would just go up and say, let's go take a look at it. Did all the formal questions, got them out to the vehicle where they wanted. And you could tell that they weren't cracking a smile. They were just looking at you like you were the scourge of the earth. And I would go, let me tell you about some of the innovations that Mercedes-Benz has put on their cars. Okay. The door is closed, right? And they'd go, yeah. And I said, the Mercedes-Benz door handle. If you want to open the door, you put your hand in, you pull it, and it opens. And at that point, they'd be going, what is this guy? Okay. Come around, take a look at the seat. That is the Mercedes-Benz seat because you don't want to drive standing, right? I mean, it's kind of uncomfortable. You have to sit down to drive. Am I right? And at that point, they go, yeah. And I'd say, go ahead and take a seat. See how it feels. They get it in. And I'd say, now that circular thing in front of you, imagine going down the road and the curve is coming up. What are you going to do? That's where the Mercedes-Benz steering wheel comes in. You want to go right? You turn it to the right and the car will go to the right. And at that point, they're going, you're either friggin' nuts or off the right. But at that point, the wall would start coming down.
Yeah.
And we'd start cutting up, because they knew I was just being a jackass, and it was just a tremendous methodology. Because eventually you start reading people and you're like, oh yeah, these people, they got their wall up big time. Sometimes I'd even do the entire presentation. I actually for some reason, I've always been very big on hearing impressions of celebrities and being able to imitate that person doing the impression for whatever reason. So Jay Moore does a world-class walk-in impression. And I heard it one time and I'm going, oh yeah, that's pretty easy to do. I could probably emulate that and start talking like that's crazy, And then all of a sudden I would start doing walk-arounds on cars, be like, guys, come over here. Look at the 3-pointed star. Do you know what it means? That's crazy. It means three separate things. It wasn't done by accident, and people just be looking at, what the crap is wrong with this guy? He sounds like that actor. It was nuts, man. It was funny. You just had fun with it, What's come up fun?
Yeah, you got to do that.
So
people want that. See, people are more addicted to pleasure than they are to pain. And if you can make someone happy and make them smile, then they want more of it. And sometimes it's like the classic Awaken the Giant Within from Tony Robbins. It's the pattern interrupt. They will come to you and they already believe, hey, I'm here. You're going to try and sell me something. You're a smarmy little shit. You're going to suck up. They've already got all of that kind of stuff in their head. So if you can interrupt that, then you get the chance to feed in what you truly are about. So I'm a great believer in that. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did every time. And you're describing exactly that with that guy at the feet of David. The statue of David. I mean, that's
absolutely. It's a pattern interrupt. Yeah,
pattern interrupt. Absolutely. So in the beginning, we talked about you. I mean, it's all about marinating your mind in good stuff. The podcast. You at the beginning of your career marinated yourself in with the people who could help you out. But what do you do? I mean, have you listened to anything? You mentioned Tony Robbins. I would imagine that you read that book. But what do you listen to and read today that you kind of marinate your mind in, if anything?
So I like educating in snippets and quips. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts. I listen to a lot of interviews. I love YouTube because I can just skip between a lot of different things. I like Instagram TV now because that's also very short. But I want to hear what your opinion is. And I like to challenge my perspective. So if I know someone doesn't agree with me, that's the person I want to talk to. Because I want to either be able to validate that I'm right to me, or I want to be able to open up a door to a different perspective. So I listen to absolutely everyone. I will listen quick, and I will remove quicker. But I first listen to everyone. So I'm a great believer, and especially with the technology that we got now, we should be listening to everyone. That's the problem, though. The plastic princesses come in on their little pedestal and tell you that they know great things. You've got to be able to get a damn good bullshit filter going. You've got to be able to see through that. And so everyone I talk to, the first thing I do is I look at their shoes. Where are you coming from? And I mean that metaphorically. Where are you coming from? What is your position of strength? Have you fallen over? Have you screwed up? Are you the head of your industry because your daddy gave it to you 6 months ago and you haven't fucked it yet? So I want to be able to find out where's the position before I'm willing to listen to you.
And the thing is that a lot of that comes with lifetime of experience and a finely highly attuned BS meter.
Yeah, I think mine's pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that a lot of that comes, again, with life experience. There are a lot of 20-year-old entrepreneurs that know a great deal about and the thing is that I hate the fact that some of them are much more financially successful than I am, but I think I'm just a late bloomer. But again, they're out there I'm going to show you about how to do business. Wait, you're 23 years old. What do you possibly know? You're the beneficiary of a really good economy right now. And that's the fact, and that's kind of what
I loved it a few years ago when Justin Bieber at the age of 19 did his life biography.
Oh, gosh.
So fucking 19. You've only just stopped wearing Pampers and now you're doing a bloody movie. So, it is funny.
Well, I mean, I remember having a conversation with a guy who he's like, I just don't know what we were having a very big heart to heart. It was a BNI member, and he was talking to a bunch of us and very emotional because and he kept on telling you guys just don't get it. You just don't understand what I'm going through. And I'm going, and at one point I said, how long have you been in business? He's like, oh, this is my second month. I'm like, and I had, without us missing a beat, I'm like, you haven't even shit your first diaper yet.
Yeah, no,
dude, 2 months. We don't know what you're going through, or you're out of your freaking minds. We've been where you are, dude. But man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know we got a weekend to get started. Where can people find out more about you and follow you? Let's put that out there.
Good stuff. Well, if you've got a cell phone in your hand, you can text the word SIMS, SIMS, to 345345. That's SIMS. 345 dsIMS.com. Both of those will allow you to register for my emails. But if you do it, you'll get a cheat sheet from Bluefishing, the art of making things happen. That's free of charge. That's you. And you'll also get one of my favorite videos called the Chug Test. So that'll give you an idea of how I audit my circle that I hang around with.
Right on, right on. So just give that to me one more time. Again, we had a little bit of a digital interrupt. It was Sims 345. And was it a website? Because we got a little bit of an interrupt there.
All right, you went funny again. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. We're having connectivity issues.
Yeah, so Sims, SIMS to 345 or SteveDSims.com, or find me on Instagram, Facebook, and the usual suspects at Steve D. Sims.
Correct, right on. Of course, I will leave all the contact information in the description. Steve, thank you for being on with me. I really appreciate your time. This has been a great episode. I thank you for being on. If you're a fan of the primer, please like, subscribe, donate. I mean, I don't really have a donate button, but hey, if you feel like sending me some money, I'm not going to say no. Go ahead and do that. I'll at jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. And thank you again for being on, sir. I really do appreciate it. And you have a great day.
Look after yourself, pal.
This is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com /podcast.